Hey everybody, this is Joel.
Daniela.
And Paul. From Moving to Mexico, bienvenidos a nuestro canal, bienvenidos a Guanajuato, the town and the state, and bienvenidos to another episode of
Behind the Mexican Door.
And we're in a very special place today. I had this, it's a Canadian connection.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day when I used to have open houses, because I'm a developer from Canada, we would celebrate a completion of a project. So we would do an open house there and invite all of our friends, family, and client list. Susan used to run a catering firm, and she was a chef and would always do our catering. And then one day she kind of moved to Mexico with her husband, Endre, and I've been kind of keeping in touch every now and then. And when we came on this trip, I'm like, I think I know someone from Canada who actually has a little hotel in Guanajuato. So I reached out to Susan and we kind of put the connection back together, and here we are. They've invited us to spend the night.
That's so nice.
She's not here, she's in Canada. But her husband Endre is here. Hey, Endre.
I'm Andre. Joel, Danny, pleased to meet you.
But our car is kind of parked where we shouldn't be, and I think you have a garage.
Yes.
Okay.
We can, if you go down the road,
Yeah.
about 500 meters, there's
Yeah.
an OXXO on the right, and there's a Returno. You come back, and the parking is on this property, but it's below us,
Okay.
full level.
So
All right.
what's this tunnel?
Oh, that's cool.
One of the tricky things here is, how do you finish the top of the tunnel? Because this is an open cut.
Right.
Probably heard of subways that have open cuts, right? And then they just put in flat concrete, they pour it, and everything's kosher. Well, that doesn't really fit with the vocabulary of the city, because the city is all made of tunnels. So I came up with an idea to put in a steel cage work here out of rebar, and then I put chain link fence on it. Then I took the stones that we took out of the wall, we put it on top, added mortar and concrete, and then I moved that framework, I removed it, and we moved it up, and we repeated the process, and we moved it up again. It's the first time I've seen anyone use that trick. You know, how sharp these edges are, how perfectly he put them in place. Like, this is not a person who started doing this on his coffee break. You know,
Very precise.
beautiful work. And also you can see even these pieces here, which are not, this is not really a high quality stone. It came from this site. But look at this wall.
Yeah.
So to retain all the soil on the other side, this wall is 5.5 feet thick at the bottom, because you need to have enough mass to retain the forces of the soil. Because up there is where the soil was originally in the stone. So there's a lot of earth moving that took place here. So everything that you're seeing here is basically was stone. We brought in a couple hundred truckloads of soil so that we could get some growth in the plants happening. Of course, that's a problem, because you're importing bacteria and viruses from other parts that it's not naturalized here, so it takes time for all that to settle out. But I got the soil from over there in Mayado. There's a guy who has keeps about 100 head of cattle.
Yeah.
And he's got a piece of land that's got a flat spot. And the rains come and they bring the topsoil down. And that's where he has the cows doing their thing, shall we say, eating, and the other end of the equation. And so you have this extremely
Rich and potent soil.
The problem I had was I mixed it with some regular soil, but I should have mixed it with more soil. So we had a couple of years trying to manage viruses and bacteria from that soil and get it all balanced out. I think we're pretty close now. Everything is starting to calm down. We have two gardeners, and actually they're here today. And we have an agronomist, and he helps manage all the viruses, bacterias, all the little animals. He brings in spiders, sets them up.
He brings them in.
He brings them in because, you know, there's a natural system that has to take place. This site was stone, and I don't want to get into the nuances of everything that happened on this site before we got here, but let's just say it was an activity center for youth.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
Do worms play a big part in that and keep getting the soil and the bacteria?
There's actually a really neat chap here in the city. His name is Kenny. He calls himself the worm doctor. And he specializes in red wigglers. And so he brought some of those worms here. That got our compost going. And so we've got them hanging around in the compost pile, and he's advised us on how to keep them happy. But we've got lots of worms. Cool. And the chickens also love to hang around with those.
For sure.
Deal with that.
So what is this area here that we're
We
in?
call this the plaza. So this is a public area. We call it a common area for our guests, and they can come here and party, and they can smoke here. Of course, in Mexico, you want to have shade,
right.
So we got a little bit of shade there. In the morning, if they want to come up for coffee, then this spot is in shade.
Sure.
So development of properties in Mexico, you really have to think about shade. In northern climates, you think about how do we capture the sun.
Right.
Here, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. So that's an important element that we try to keep.
And then you
look
have
at
a
the
beautiful garden here, like the wall.
Yeah.
And then I can see another garden spot there. Should we
Yes.
go there?
Yeah, sure, let's go. So, I know people think that cactuses will just survive without water, which is true. But if you want them to flourish, like this one here, this cactus was a baby. We're talking a couple of inches high, I'm going to say 2.5 years ago. But we water it. One of our biggest costs here is watering. And we have a 76,000 liter cisterns over here that help us manage that. But we're just in the planning stages of tripling that capacity so that we can keep up on the watering and make sure everything looks
Are you still getting
vibrant.
the same rainy season as they do like in Mexico City, or is it slightly different here?
It can vary quite a bit. We can have a situation where the rains start already in April.
Right.
May, you can have torrential downpours of, this much per hour. This year it didn't start till July, but we've had a good rainy season, and our cisterns are overflowing.
So you're collecting rainwater as well?
We are.
Okay.
We are. In Mexico, it doesn't seem to be a big issue, as you may know, that in certain parts of the world, it's very strictly considered to be a resource that is owned by the crown or by the government, and they don't look very highly on you, even if you have just a rain barrel. Obviously, we have a very significant series of rain barrels here.
So they own the rain.
Yeah, they do, because it's a natural resource.
Right.
It's no different than, say, oil in the ground or coal. But in Mexico, I think people would have the authorities would have a tough time stopping someone from collecting some rain.
Wait, before we move on, what is this here?
Oh yeah.
That's the workshop. I don't know if you want to come in.
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
have a
let's
look.
check it out.
Let's check it out. It's the wood workshop.
So this is the wood workshop.
This is the wood workshop. Yeah. So I cut my own trees here. I look out and I find dead tropical trees. I cut this in March of 2020.
And why the aging? So the wood has to dry out.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can see even at this moment, I've got these clamps on it to keep it from going all over the place. The most important thing in drying wood is patience. If you don't have patience, don't try to do this.
It's like many things in life. Beer, wine, like
Women.
you can't mezcal, tequila.
Mezcal, tequila, etc.
So you get wood from all over Mexico shipped here?
No, not usually.
Okay.
These trunks and these slabs, the tree, I cut them locally.
Oh, okay.
I go down these little roads and I start searching for them.
Yeah.
And when I see the bark falling off and there's no leaves, then that's a pretty good indicator to me. I want to go and try to find the owner, negotiate. I mean, usually you start with someone called the velador, which is the watchman, because let's just say that farm crops here can get very dynamic. They can disappear overnight unless you have a velador. So that's your first gatekeeper. You got to talk to him, win him over. Usually a cold beer helps, something like that. You can spot the horse. Can you spot the horse head there? There's his eye. There's the nose, the snout of the horse. So I thought, oh wow, because how do we deal with the legs for the sideboard? They could be something boring. So what we're trying with this one is I'm going to set it up with the horse look for the client. And I said to them, if they don't like the horse look, we can just chop the horse's nose off and we can go to a rectangular,
Right.
more of a
More of a cow.
more of a
Right.
cow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's real wood there.
that's walnut.
Oh, so what is this
these
here?
are mezcal presentation platters.
Right.
So I have a local lady. She makes the little cups for this,
Yeah.
ceramic cups. Then the sal de gozano comes here,
Yeah.
and
Fruit
chilies
yeah.
or whatever comes over here. And I make these in various exotic woods from Mexico. That is from the state of Guerrero.
Okay.
It's bocote.
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 It's heavy. Like even this
Super.
is solid.
Yeah, very much. This, was very fortunate. I got this in Michoacan. It's
Okay.
cherry. Cherry doesn't grow very frequently in Mexico, but in Michoacan, there's some really big ones. And CFE, the Federal Electrical Authority, they were cutting down some cherry trees because they were in the way. They were creating these lines, these power lines, and I just happened to be right there. And there was a guy who was like a couple 100 feet away from where they're putting in the lines, and he had a sawmill. So I said, hey, he calls himself Mickey Mouse. That's his name, if you can imagine.
Mickey Mouse.
Mickey Mouse, that's what he calls himself. Anyways, so I make a deal with him, and I say, look, can I buy the trunk? And then can you slice it? Oh, sure. So we figured it all out. But I was just in my little car, so we couldn't really, it was just one of those perchance things. Anyways, we sliced it in half, and 4 of us managed to get half of the piece into the back of the little car. And so that's the history of
Where
this.
that came from.
That's where that one came
Awesome.
from. This is a tree that is completely prevalent in central Mexico.
Okay.
It grows everywhere. It is one of the most robust trees you can imagine. But here's the amazing thing. No one uses this tree for anything. It's completely perplexing. And it can grow huge. Normally, this is called pirul. Normally, this tree grows to about a 16-inch diameter, which is not that great in terms of woodworking by the time you lose your bark and, you got round edges and everything. But this one, I found, fell 4 years ago here in Guanajuato City, came down and it destroyed 3 cars in a giant wind. And it collapsed the cars and it was giant. It was 2 meters in diameter.
Okay.
So we're talking a serious tree. And it's over there. The bottom there, we sliced it in the other direction for coffee tables. And so because that's 3 or 4 inches thick, it's 3 years for that to dry. And these are some leftover pieces. And it's quite beautiful when you put a finish on it.
Yeah, it's pretty
It's got a nice
pretty.
color.
Yeah, it's very
It's
rustic
beautiful.
looking.
I designed this workshop with the view in mind. I wanted to be inspired. I wanted it to be fantastic. The only real vegetation that we have here from the original, let's call it the bald stone, is that garambullo right there. And
That's the cactus.
that's the cactus. These other trees in here, they're all planted a couple years ago. And they were just, less than a meter tall. They were short. But we are not very frugal when it comes to water. And of course, if you water it here in Mexico,
It's growing.
it's growing. You get to the point where you don't want it to actually grow anymore. You're managing the overgrowth. You're not trying to foster more growth.
So what do you think, Joel?
Pretty well blown away.
Yeah.
I mean, when we pulled up to the property, it's from the other side, it's pretty unassuming. You're like, that's a pretty little place to maybe stay, but you don't see any of this. So then once you come through the property, I mean, it's magical all along the way.
Here's the little ones. I left them out
Okay.
because I separate them a little bit, especially when you're feeding. Let's just see if we got any donations. Oh, there we go. There we go. See, that's...
Look at that, Wayville.
There we go. And we sell them at the front desk, so people really love they can get the eggs in the morning, and they're not coming from the store.
Very cool.
So these are 4 we just got last week, and a couple weeks ago. Oh, they love the cameraman for sure. For sure. This is a Transylvanian breed with this bald neck. Some people think that there's something wrong with it. No, that's the way they are, and they're great egg layers.
Yeah.
They're known for laying eggs. They're just they're super.
Cool.
And the chickens become like family members. I know that sounds sort of crazy, but they become friends. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, they follow you around. They're very personable. And so we have automatic feeders and automatic watering for them, so they've always got something. And if that's not enough, then they'll peck something off your toes.
That's right.
And we've got their night spot, got spots for them to roost, and we don't overcrowd them.
Right.
We've got 7 of them. I mean, we just came from another property that had a smaller area for them than this, and they had 26 in there, and I just
Just
thought,
too many.
no. They're much happier. You want them to come out, and the guests love them too. The children come out. They just love the children. They're here. They're ready to open the door at 8 o'clock in the morning to let them out. This is all new. This is where the road originally came up.
Okay.
Of course, there were so many materials that we had to bring in that I had to build a road, and we started it down there, and they brought it up. So everything you see here was planted in the last 2 years.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You look behind you, this is Cupeniosis. We have 5 of these as well. And these are from Australia. And this Cupeniosis and the Bachichiton, they're very similar locales. And you look at this, we planted this. It was like they were super happy right off the bat. And I know they may not look happy because they've got these undulating leaves, but these undulating leaves are normal.
Okay.
It's, and you can see you don't have to be an expert. You look at this. This tree is really happy. We do have a lot of succulents, and you can see some of these cacti. When we planted them over there, we just cut them
Right.
off with a machete. You let them sit for about 2-3 months so that they dry out. That's the trick.
Okay.
Then you dig a little hole, you put them in the hole, and then you add water. And what happens is the cactus comes to life. It says, "Hey, I want water. I want to reestablish myself."
So literally for months, you just let it dry
Just-
out.
Just let it dry out.
Kind
And
of
in
to
fact,
forget from where they came from and bring them to the new place.
say that again.
Kind of like to forget where they came from and bring them to
Yes.
the new place.
Yeah. And I'll show you another trick that you may think is crazy, and I certainly thought it was crazy. You can see another trick you can do is take the cactus, and this sounds incredible. People will not believe this, but take a cactus and put it in the ground horizontally. Just dig a little bit of a trough. See what happens? That one there is horizontal, and that one over there is
Okay.
horizontal. And so that one gave us 4 cactus, and this one gave us 5.
Wow.
And I think over there you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yep.
5, 6 coming off of that one
Oh,
over
cool.
there. And so these elements of nature, they're just absolutely amazing. Susan and I, we were in Guadalajara in Main Park, and there are beautiful tabachines there, the tree that I
Yeah.
showed you previously. And so it was a time of year where the pods fell to the ground, and I thought, wow, these trees are so beautiful. I put a couple of these pods, I snuck it in my pocket. We walked out of the park. We brought them back home here, and we planted the seeds. And lo and behold, in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, things started springing up. I was so happy. I'm there like, oh my God, this is working. And then I realized they were just tomatoes. So I pulled out the tomatoes, put them aside, and I just kept waiting. And then in another 3-4 weeks, up came a little shoot. And I realized, okay, this is looking like the tree we want to have. So I had it in a little, like a 1 gallon, 4 liter container. And just to keep the animals, because this is a little bit of a paradise here, so animals come at night, just to keep them away, I had them in the tree in a little black cage. And so one day, I take the covering off the tree, the little black cage, and I'm watering it. And then someone calls me to the front door, and I left the cage off the tree. I come back like 3-4 minutes later, and the chickens have eaten the tree. I was so sad. It was ridiculous. But then the agronomist came, Nacho, he's a really nice guy. He said, no, just be calm. Don't get upset. Don't get upset. You'll see. Give it a couple months, it'll come back. And that tree, now I'm more experienced.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving it unguarded.
Yeah.
It's down there. So it came back, and you can see
Oh,
it
and it's the one in the wire there?
in the wire, yeah. And the tree has got a name, Roberto,
Roberto.
Robbie. Because last year I had 2 friends named Robbie die. So this Robbie is in memory of my friends. The other thing that we do is when we plan on planting a tree, you can see that we create a little circle there for it, and we put very high nutrient soils in there. And we typically put in a few worms as well. And then we let it sit. It's important to let it sit because the soils, they talk to each other, the plants talk to each other, they have to settle down. I know that sounds sort of esoteric, but it's true, it's been proven. So when we planted that from the 1 gallon container, right away, they were super happy. But we left that spot prepared for, I'm gonna say, about 5 or 6 months before we planted it. Nature planted this tree here. In fact, look, there's a junior coming up down there. This is a jacaranda. Mm-hmm. And this is going to be fantastic. I find that trees that just plant themselves, they're the most successful. Absolutely. This one here, we talked about the pirul up there, right? It's the red pepper tree. So when you go to a store and you get the combination of the peppers in the pepper grinder, there's black, there's white, and there's red. This is the red.
Yeah,
these guys right
there.
in here. Right in here. That's the red pepper, right in there. So that's when you get that ripe, that's what that is. It's more subtle than the black or the white. So this is a 1 bedroom with 2 full bathrooms, sofa bed, sleeps 6, comes with a refrigerator, stove, complete kitchen. We even welcome you with beer and drinks as a courtesy.
Beer.
Oh,
It's
that's
cold.
exciting.
That's important in Mexico.
We're gonna raid all the fridges in this hotel.
So how many people will be able to sleep here?
This one will handle 6.
Okay. Okay. It's a huge bedroom.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you have 2 beds plus there's a lot of space in between them?
Yes, and if it's a big family situation, then sometimes they even squeeze other children in or whatever. We're flexible. We have a pretty simple motto, and that is, if the guest is happy, we're happy. So we're here for them when we try to accommodate them to the greatest extent possible.
I'm noticing something because we like to build these. And you know what I like, what you guys didn't do? Is put the outlet inside the box.
Yes.
Or did they do that and then you had to move it?
No.
You're on it, weren't you?
No.
This happens to us all the time. And then the second thing is, and we'll go back to it in the main room, is I'm seeing some incredible art on these walls. And that's not just IKEA art.
No, we commissioned that particular one from a lady in Guadalajara, and she provided us with a number of the specimens, and we wanted to have something that coordinated with the color scheme. In this particular room, it's purple, so our commission to her was in the purple theme, and other units may be more orange or red or what have you. And we wanted art that was large, that made an impact that someone could appreciate instead of having little.
Yes.
So we went from staying in a museum to now staying in an art gallery.
Yeah. Not bad.
There are 2 bathrooms
Okay, so
because
that
it
makes
can
it-
sleep 6
Yeah,
people.
yeah, yeah.
So
And then sofa bed.
the sofa bed, and people like to doll themselves up and
Yeah, yeah.
whatever else.
Pretty
You
much
could
like an
never have enough
apartment.
bathrooms,
This
right?
is an apartment. In fact, we've had on occasion people that have stayed here for
Yes.
a longer period of
And
time.
like a nice size kitchen, big table, and 2 bathrooms for 1 bedroom apartment. That's pretty good.
What is the nightly rate right now for a place like this?
This will rent about 1,400 pesos a night, $70 US, something like that.
Yeah.
And the high season.
Well, there's a couple times during the year, Day of the Dead. Then we have the largest art festival in Latin America here in October. So that's sort of high season. That goes through October. Actually, virtually high season, October 10th to January the 6th when the children go back to school. So then it tends to drop off. And then there's Holy Week. Semana Santa is a very large event in Mexico, and that tends to not just be the week, but the week before and the week after. So that's sort of a 3-week time frame. And then there's sort of a mid-season that happens in Mexico or in central Mexico because it's the temperature here is very normalized. It's neither hot nor cold. We don't have air conditioning, nor do we have heating. So people from the hot coast like Mazatlan, Manzanillo, Cancun, they come to central Mexico for vacation with their children, and they do a tour around Mexico. So that's a pretty significant part of our business in the summer months. We'd call that a mid-level season.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the lowest price was 1,400 pesos.
Yes.
And then the highest price would be.
Let's say, would go to 1,700. So the spread actually isn't that great.
Yeah.
And it can also depend on how many people show up, because you have more wear and tear.
And you have a lot of Mexicans and a lot of also foreigners, or mostly
Yes.
Mexicans.
A large number of Mexicans, but we greet people all from Europe in most countries, Asia, Malaysia. We've hosted events here from like a World Schooling Organization, medical conferences. We'll set up a tent, so in those cases they take the whole building.
Right.
So the capacity then is like 32 people.
And they have it all to themselves.
And they have it all to themselves. And we'll handle the catering for them if they want. As you mentioned, Susan is a professional caterer.
That's
Awesome,
right.
awesome cook.
Cool.
Awesome chef.
Chef.
Now, if someone wanted to come here and spend a couple months, like they can get a longer term
They
monthly
can.
rate? Okay.
Yes.
And then just inquire with them. And
Yes.
then you send them a proposal
Susan is the boss.
on that one. Yeah, like I mean, even as Jillian and I are kind of like building our business in Bucerias, we get tired of being in the heat in the summer. So this year we actually went to Europe, but like in future years, part of this exploration of moving to Mexi.go is like where are some of the places we would like to spend more time in Mexico in the summer. And again, just like the other Mexican families from Mazatlan and down the coast, you want to just escape the heat for a few weeks. And
I think Mexican families also come here a lot because, at least when I grew up, it's like a very historical place.
yeah,
So literally your mom and dad will be like, let's do this trip to this particular area in Mexico, which is not a beach. And it's because there's so much history around and you literally just saw it at school. So it's so cool to see it in person. So a lot of kids come here, a lot of families, and that's kind of like a Mexican family thing to do, I would say.
Okay, come on in. This is your place, Danny.
Órale.
Joel.
So big.
Yeah,
Main
it's a
area?
2-bedroom, 2 bathrooms, both ensuite. There's a living room area, lots of room for eating, a full kitchen, and once again, complimentary beers and refreshments.
Well,
So
should
look
we
at-
partake?
So let's take a look at this kitchen with like a great view.
Yeah.
I like that they added that window there because why do you want the wall there?
Yeah.
Right?
well, it's just living in a kind of natural way, right?
Like you're literally having your coffee right here and making it, or doing this,
Mhm.
and you have a Guanajuato view.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Very spacious.
Daniela, you brought up you mentioned the word windows. One of our experiences is that as middle class grows, either as Mexicans or Northerners or Europeans, there's an increased sensitivity towards sound. And so the windows we have here, they're German windows.
Okay.
And when you close those windows, you're not getting any sound from the outside. It's peace and quiet. So it's a very tranquil sleep here. And also, as I mentioned, there's no air conditioning, no heating. We do have fans, but in central Mexico, you can go to sleep virtually all year round. You're not sweating,
Yeah.
or you're not chilled, or you're not cold. There's just this neutral, I call it a non-temperature. You don't even realize it. But it's wonderful in the morning. Yes, we do have a little bit of a winter, but that lasts about 5 weeks.
Yeah. Nice, spacious.
Yeah.
And a little desk area for doing a little bit of work.
Your own bathroom?
Bedrooms are so big.
Yeah.
Like this one is actually has 2 beds.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about just the Mexican culture too, is like when you're coming with family and extended family, like everyone they share the whole space.
Yeah.
So you have the kids in one room, like everyone just,
And they always figure it out.
They
That's
figure
what
it out.
amazes me. They have no idea what they're coming to, but maybe there's 24 of them because it's a wedding
Yeah.
or something. And they come in, and there's always someone who is very tranquilly in charge. And usually it's a grandmother. And there's a little bit of blub, 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 blub. And everyone's settled. And Pancho sleeps here, and Pepe's there, and Abuelo and Abuelita are over there, and,
What a
and
nice
it all
family.
gets settled. And it's all settled, and there's no argument that
Yeah.
I want this or I want that. It's just, it's so natural. It's really
I
nice.
think the only argument when traveling with Mexican families will be where we're gonna eat.
Yeah.
That will be, or when.
That probably goes with all
To everyone.
families, right?
I love that picture.
Yeah, and the giraffe is very playful there.
Nice.
Órale!
Look at
Órale!
that view. Wow.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, that's a,
And you also have 2 beds, big bedroom, and then a big bathroom.
you know, you wake up in the morning,
Yeah.
open the windows, let the cool breeze in, have your coffee in bed. Jillian, you would love this room.
Yeah.
My wife would look, because I bring her coffee to bed every morning.
Oh.
She has her coffee in bed pretty well 99% of the time.
Don't tell Susan.
But this would be her dream.
The other
Yeah.
thing is, we went all out on the beds. Like, this is not a sort of a mediocre, barely hotel level bed. I've never had anyone here say, oh, I woke up with a backache or something. No, everyone says, dormiste bien.
Awesome.
Do you guys hear?
I hear the sound of silence.
Yeah, it's because those windows. So let's open one and see
Yeah.
what changes things.
And there's the
I
street
heard a
noise.
dog. I heard
Yeah.
a chicken.
The sounds of Mexico.
And then you close it,
Nice weather.
and hear a motorcycle, of course. And then you hear nothing.
That's right. Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Proven.
Nice German windows.
Yeah.
You right?
So you have like a premium casita that's at the top of the property.
It's at the top of the property. It's the one with a little private terrace. It's a smaller unit. It's not a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, but it's got the best
Honeymoon
view.
suite.
Most privacy.
Okay.
Let's go
Let's
check
go
it
see.
Paul,
Yeah.
you're in the
I'm
casita.
already here.
How'd you do that? That's magic.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
But no concrete roof.
no concrete roof. I decided to go with a modern system. This system's out of Italy.
Yeah.
It's made here, 50 kilometers away, and it's an insulated panel. It's a modern system, so it's very quick. So in one day you have the roof, you have waterproofing. It's all done in one day.
So this one is also a king bed and a
King
pull-out couch.
and a king sofa bed. That's correct.
Okay.
Still with the eating area, kitchen area, a nice washroom, and this is the only unit that's air conditioned.
And I see in all your kitchens you have some like pantry, like how do you say, food stuff.
Alimentos, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's included in the rent.
it is.
That's so nice. Because usually you just get like the basics, right? Salt, pepper, and oil.
Yes.
Now you have even frijoles. You know?
I know you're gonna think this is crazy, but I even give you sharp knives because I'm a woodworker. A woodworker knows how to sharpen knives.
Cool. It's a big kitchen.
That's awesome.
And then you have the seating area outside.
Yeah, let's go check out the seating area.
So this is a nice spot to relax. The sun comes up over there in the east, just over those mountains. So it's a great place to have a cup of coffee in the morning and just enjoy the vegetation and the view. And this is a really nice spot because Guanajuato is a very urban center, very densely populated. But from this vantage point, as you turn around there's La Bufa, the mountain, and you get a combination of the urban view and the mountainside.
Yes.
So it's a lovely spot.
So at the end of the day, how many units you have here for rent?
We have 5 for rent, and then we live on the site as well.
Okay.
And we have a 6th one, or another one, but that's turned into my other workshop.
And you said 32 people total that can actually rent the whole property?
Yes. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Well, orderly. It's been great.
Orderly.
Thanks again for welcoming us into your hotel, which is really your home. And
It's a pleasure.
It's amazing to see other Canadians making their life here in Mexico, which I think it's a very positive thing. And we asked this question on one of our videos, like what Mexicans think of Canadians, Americans, other foreigners moving to Mexico, and generally the sentiment is positive. there's a percentage that maybe aren't too excited about it, but generally speaking, everyone sees it as a good thing. What is the sentiment here?
I think it's a little mixed.
Yeah.
One has to be very careful when you come here to not be an intruder.
Right.
You have to try to fit in. You have to know your neighbors. You have to hire your neighbors. Like we have a lady who sews.
Yeah.
'Cause there's always something to sew, right? Well, she lives just over there. We support the lady and the gentleman over there in the store. There's a used clothing lady. We hand her some of our old clothing. So you have to become part of the community. You can't just be sort of a non-existent gringo.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Point. Yeah.
Well, on that note, this was a fabulous tour. I'm looking forward to spending the night here, and Jilly and I will definitely be coming back. We'll have to figure out how we're going to make that trip before the end of the year.
What was your favorite part of the hotel, Joel?
Well, I almost forgot about the favorite part. I have to say the garden.
The garden.
And not just any one particular spot, just the entire part of the garden. I just kind of imagine spending time here a lot more outside as opposed to inside the unit.
Yeah.
But obviously a good bed is important. So I kind of felt my mattress earlier, and so I'm looking forward to a nice sleep tonight.
Yes.
Because there's nothing worse than a crappy mattress and bad bedding, right? And you have a great mattress, great bedding. And,
How about you, Danielle?
Yeah.
I think also like sitting in the garden with this view, like
the
enjoying the garden area around you, but then you have this awesome view too.
Right.
Like what else do you need, right?
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, you guys took mine, so I'm gonna say the beer's in the fridge, right?
Or the wood shop.
Or the wood shop. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
nice.
and the other thing I would say is having Andres here,
Yeah.
and he's just such a cool guy with lots of cool information, and and it's just great stories. So, it's part of the package, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm sure he talks to guests and he's so nice.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm sure people enjoy being here with you.
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate Susan's not here because I think she's an even better representation of the property than I am. But
You did great.
thank you.
And thank you for
What's your
having us.
favorite part?
What's my favorite? Oh, come on, that's an easy one. That's the wood shop
There you
and
go.
the wood collection.
Very
It's
good.
my life. I
What
started.
about Susan's favorite part, you think?
I think the garden and the chickens. The chickens are really her project. That's her dream as a child. She wanted to have chickens, and then finally we got a property,
Yes.
and she loves them. She takes them to the vet, and she holds them, and
Oh, cool.
She manages them beautifully.
Well, hopefully we meet her another time.
That's right. All right. What do you guys think?
Well, that's a wrap. This is the absolute last video we're doing of the trip. I think.
I think
'Cause
so.
I think we're at our energy. It's like you have so much
Yeah.
energy. Like I don't think we've ever shot this many videos before.
No.
In this little amount of time.
No. Oh, and you guys saw Daniela does not like any kind of
But
critters
but
flying
I'm
around her.
calming, stressing here.
Distressing.
But we're gonna go out for dinner. You've made some reservations. We'll maybe get some B-roll of that. We're gonna do a follow-up video on this entire trip. We'll share some things, like all the behind the scenes things we did.
Yeah.
In 4 days, which you could probably do in 4 weeks. And on that note, everybody,
Sí.
I'm cutting the video to the end.
Okay.
Nos vemos. Hasta luego, and
Adiós desde Guanajuato.